Welcome into another episode of Short Legs, Big Rage. I'm Angry Corgi. That's Joey Shadows. And
Whoop
today
whoop.
we have gotten past the console wars. We have given it to
We,
PlayStation. And
of
today,
course, always there's
right?
only one true master, and it's the PlayStation. That's it. That's all I'm
And
gonna say.
today we are going to talk to, in my opinion, one of the biggest franchises on PlayStation. We're talking Final Fantasy today. So, seeing as how there's like 2 dozen of them, we are going to kind of speed run some of them
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
they took enough time out of our lives while playing and aren't worth the conversation. And then there's the others that really shape. When you think Final Fantasy, these are the iconic moments, right? You think Michael Jordan, you think the Bulls, right? You think the Bulls now, we got crickets, but either way, so yeah, Joe, give
Yeah.
us your experience overall with
Overall,
fine.
with like
Yeah, what
the
draws you to
franchise in
that
general.
franchise, and then we'll start breaking them
d-
down.
Okay, so my first thought, honestly, and like you could say like the gameplay and stuff. For me, it's the music. Like whenever I hear like the music, it gives me like fond memories. And my first ever experience with Final Fantasy was Final Fantasy 1, but I didn't play it. My dad actually used to play games up until like the PlayStation era. So I remember as a little kid, he would only play it your dad, you're an adult. Like the only time you really have to play is
Okay,
like
to be
when
fair, your
everyone's
dad was barely an adult. He had a job.
so so the only time and I do this the only time I got to play games is what like when everyone's in bed or whatever and I could have time to sit on the couch whatever, right? So he would start playing it, I would be in my room, I would pretend that I couldn't sleep, and I'd come out to the living room. Oh my god. You know what? I don't know if you're not my watch isn't picking up on the fucking thing. Sorry, tangent, right? My watch is going off like crazy. You're not hearing that, right?
No,
Okay. Okay, perfect. That's fine. Um,
as long as it's not a
what was I saying?
pacemaker alerting you of
No,
anything.
no, no, no. I
No,
got one
you're
of
good.
these
All right,
new
good.
fancy watches, and fucking one of the group chats is going
You're
off.
just out here
Um,
robbing banks, my boy. I'm proud of you.
so, yeah, so I would pretend I couldn't sleep. And then I come out into the living room. Hey, Dad, I can't sleep. He'd be like, okay, you can stay in here, but you have to lay on the couch and you have to turn away from the TV. I always thought it was weird growing up, and I was like, why the like you're playing a video game? Why did like are you playing like is there like boobies and stuff in this game? Is it mature? Like why can't I watch you? But I get it now. You don't want me to watch a screen and stay up. Anyways, so all I would hear is the music. And I think that's why I'm drawn to the music of Final Fantasy because it just brings me to that time where it was like, yeah, my dad had some leeway. He let me stay up a little bit. I could listen to some music. I probably would fall asleep on the couch. He would carry me to bed or whatnot, right? Um, so the first thing that draws me to any one of these games, honestly, is the music. Like Nobu Uematsu is fucking one of the goats. And I'm gonna say goat. I'm not even gonna say video game composer. I'm gonna fucking say composer, dude. I know everyone's gonna be like, well, what about Beethoven and Tchaikovsky or whatever his name is, or Amadeus? I can't remember. I'm not. I'm not musically
Stop while you're
fucking
ahead.
studied.
Yeah.
But yeah, so but like he's the fucking goat, and the sounds that he made come out of these games to this day, like they're still using the same shit. They're just changing it up and reinventing the music that he created. So the first thing to draw me to this game is definitely the music. Second is like you could say story, but honestly, like the stories are usually always the same. You're a band of people getting together to save the world. Like every single Final Fantasy is that, right? Like it's until you get to like three. Three goes fucking crazy and dark, but the stories are usually all the same, right? Or whatever. There's somebody trying to take over the world, some person that thinks they're God, blah blah blah. That's the story of every Final Fantasy. Um, Second would probably be like just the gameplay, dude. Like it was just different from any other games at the time. Now there were RPGs at the time. We could mention it later, but like Dragon Warrior was like, or Dragon Quest, Dragon Warrior, they call it whatever, one and the same. They they were actually the first ones to come up with this kind of like that's a form of video game RPG, right? Because before that, it was the Westerners and it was like D&D style, Ultima, Wizardry. There was all these other games that kind of came out before then. Um, but the style that Final Fantasy did was was just way different than anything you've ever seen, right? You saw your characters, you had to decide, like you had four characters, right? And then you had your enemies, and then you had to decide like, okay, am I going to attack? Am I going to defend? Am I going to use some magic? I got health points, I got magic actually in the first one, it wasn't magic points, it was spell slots in a sense like D&D, right? So that's how the first one went. But then you had to decide, right? Like there's a lot of strategy involved. It was complex for its time. Um, didn't always work. We could get into that later with FF1. There was a lot of fucking glitches with that game, right? They did change them up when they started making new ones and whatnot. But like again, every time I think of Final Fantasy, I think of the music. I have the soundtracks downloaded on my phone. I'm going to the symphony that's playing it in March here in Winnipeg. I'm going to that. I didn't care how much money it was. I'm like, I fucking need to listen to this shit
Do you
live
ever?
because it
Do you
just
ever, Joe? Like what has it stopped you? Like, hang on, like I've been letting you monologue here for a while, but we're gonna go back to some shit, right? Because from a comic book aficionado saying that it's the same story. There's always someone with a god complex. I not today, Joe. I don't have the energy. But no, and just so that I don't have to add it later. I'm gonna play that sound clip that we're talking about because when you and I talked about this the other day, um, we talked about it that the fanfare has continued on. It's like Pokemon. There's certain things, Legend of Zelda, right? We talked about it in our very first episode, the iconic sounds.
Mhm.
So yeah, so for those of you listening, hopefully this isn't like deafening. So that is the soundtrack to our childhood. I don't know if you could hear it, Joe. Probably not because I had it on OBS. That's fine.
Yeah, definitely
I,
didn't
I'm
hear it.
I'm
That's
sure you
fine.
could recite it ding for ding.
Was it
Uh,
the prelude?
it
Did you
was the
play the
first
prelude?
fanfare victory,
Oh,
the one
dun
that I
dun dun
used in the
dun
clip. That yeah,
dun 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 dun.
right, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
it,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's it. And I know for you, and this is kind of where we differ, Joe, which is weird because I music was my thing growing up. You and Tim had you were video games and karate. Tim was
Mm-hmm.
hockey and injuries.
Mm-hmm.
So
Don't forget concussions.
fuck you guys might have like you guys should really apply for the Guinness World Record. I think between a bloodline, you guys might. I'm third if you throw Lucas in too. Lucas has got to have one or two, but either way, but we talked about that like the music aspect of some of these games was it's things that you still like I said to this day you still work on. And it's not like
Mm-hmm.
they're just remixing it, right? Re-releasing the
Mm-hmm.
sample. It's the whole thing because that is its sound. If I was blind and dumb, I'd hear that and I'd go, yeah, like I still know what that sound is. But
Mm-hmm.
for me,
Mm-hmm.
and this is why I fell in love with Final Fantasy, mine is the story. And I know you said
Yeah.
which is fine. There are some other fuckers that read, Playboy for the stories.
Okay. The details of the story get better. I guess what I was just
100%.
saying is like, yeah, it was just like it's kind of like the same. The intertwinings of the story get better. That's why I was like three goes off the chart. Like
Well,
three,
and that's when things
hands
shift, and,
down
and
is
we're still
yeah,
talking the 3 and 6. So I'm gonna get you to
yeah,
explain this because when I remembered it, and we talked about this the other day, I remembered it as 3, but it is technically 6. So Joe, can you
yes,
break down the complete
I can,
unorganization about this series, please?
I can. Okay, so one is one. Final Fantasy one
You guys
is one,
following? You guys
right?
following? One
Okay, you're
is one.
following.
Okay,
Okay,
next.
Final Fantasy shit. Hold on. Final Fantasy two is two in Japan. Okay. It was never released in North America at first. Now, when I say never released, they did make compilation games once PlayStation and stuff came in. They started adding these games in. Okay, so I'm just talking about initial releases. Okay, so two is two. Now, they didn't release two in North America because at that time there wasn't a globalization of video games. Okay, so Japan always looked at it and they're like, these games are too hard for these dumbass North Americans to play. We're not releasing it, right? So two is two in Japan. We never got it. Okay. Three is three in Japan. We never got that one for a while either. Now, here's where it kind of changes a little bit. Four in Japan is two in North America. So if you played Final Fantasy 2 in North America, you actually played Final Fantasy 4. Okay. Five was never fucking released in America. Again, they kept it in Japan for a
Keep
while.
talking. I gotta go wrestle a kitten that's trying to rip down my green
Okay, yeah,
screen.
no problem. No problem. Now, Final Fantasy 6 is Final Fantasy 3 in North America. This feels super weird now. Okay. I was like, how long is this motherfucker going to be gone for? Because I feel weird just talking to myself.
Just go. Just go.
Yeah, so 6 in Japan is 3 in North America. That's why in North America, it kind of went one, two, three, then 7, and everyone was super fucking confused, right? When 7 got released, they were like, "Oh, I played 1, 2, and 3. Where's 4, 5, and 6? So I could play 7," right?
Yeah.
The good thing about Final Fantasy is that none of the stories actually intertwine with each other, and there is a reason for that, right? So once you get to 7, then 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, they're all, that's when globalization of video games happen. Let's release all the same shit. Everyone understands video games now. Maybe North Americans aren't as fucking dumb as we think, and maybe they are pretty good at video games. So let's just, and for a marketing and um like development standpoint, it just didn't make sense to make a different game for here than here. Now it still kind of happens because there are rules all over the place, right? Australia is a big one. A lot of games have to get edited in Australia because they have certain rules when it comes to there, right? But anyway, so to reiterate, one is one, two only in Japan, three only in Japan, four only in, four is two in North America. See, now I'm fucking up now. 6 is 3 in North America, and then 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, all the same shit. So I
Thank you for
hope I
clearing that up.
confused. Yeah, I fucking hope I confuse the shit out of all you guys because you're probably still confused, right? So,
And
so that's
well,
how it went, right?
and that's it. So when I was talking to Joe, because one of my favorites, and probably the one that really etched it for me, was the North American Final Fantasy 3, right? We got the
Right.
Moogles, we got the chocobos, because if I say
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
cocoboos, Joe's gonna have a little
I'm gonna
conniption.
lose my shit.
I almost did it in the clip just to piss you off. But that's it. But the extra characters, like the supporting cast in Final
Right.
Fantasy, is ridiculous because, and we talked about it. The one thing that sometimes the first game's a flop, right? We've talked about this, right? If
Mm-hmm.
God
Mm-hmm.
of War didn't get remade, would we ever remember? Like, would we have been right? Like, there's certain things, and I can't find the words for it now, so we're not going to waste energy
No,
on
I
it.
know. Like, if it wasn't rebooted,
Yeah,
right? Like, would you
right. If
still
it wasn't
care about it?
re-envisioned, but there's also
Right.
games that we're going to get to it at the end of the list when we talk about how they changed the style. Um, but there's certain things that are just Final Fantasy. There's certain things that are just Legend of Zelda. There are just,
Mm-hmm.
and one thing that Final Fantasy did bring to the table was the side by side battle screens. And most of
Right.
you don't even think about that. That there was a time prior, and we're talking 1987, so that everybody listening, watching can kind of get together on a time here. So this all started 1987. So the jump from Final Fantasy 1 to the North American 3 was leaps and bounds.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Mm-hmm.
the one thing that Final Fantasy did is it appealed to a more mature audience. It was like, 3 was pretty dark. And we were talking about this the other day.
So dark, dude. So dark.
right?
Like so dark.
And
Yeah.
I guess it was because we were kids, because that's what we were marketed. We were marketed the Marios. We were marketed, happy go lucky. Everything's going to go. But you're starting off with, which is essentially the origin story of Gamora, right? Like they came in, they killed a bunch of people. Now you're on fucking mech warriors. If you haven't, I don't know if I'd recommend one, um, because this is like The Witcher to me. I'm probably not going to play 1 and 2 because it's not going to beat 3 for me. 3 is the
Right.
pinnacle until otherwise. And for me, 3 isn't the top, but it's definitely the one that got me hooked. And
Yeah. No.
oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say like like I did eventually I went back to one, but that was like in my 20s, and I played it on the Game Boy Advance because they re-released it. Dawn of Souls. That's when Final Fantasy 1 and 2 were kind of re-released, and they did change it. They made it like because again, you go back to one, dude. Like it's so for as good as the accomplishment that they did with what they had, it was fucking slow, super slow. You didn't know where to go half the time. Um, Half the spells didn't even work. They were ineffective, and you didn't know, right? So like you were trying to use these spells, and it was just not working, not working, not working, right? Like the battles took forever because everybody kind of went one at a time and you had to select attack, what kind of attack, who am I attacking, this is like it was fucking slow,
Why
right?
am I
So
attacking?
yeah, and then you attack nothing, you kill the dude, you kill one of the enemies, you told your other guy to attack that same enemy, and now he's too dumb to realize he's dead, and he swipes at thin air, and now you just wasted a turn. Now you got to wait 3 more minutes for your turn again. Like, so yes, like I would say if anybody wanted to start with the series, start with
I'd start with 3.
I I would start yeah, when we're saying these numbers, we're talking North America numbers.
Yeah.
Like just so everybody who's listening understands
Because
because
now
I
I've
can't
got
keep
4 more
switching.
that I've apparently got to play.
Yeah,
So,
and I can't keep switching from three but six. So
yeah,
when
we're
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 talking numbers,
we're
it's
now
North
in North
American.
American units.
Yes, yes. So sorry, I kind of butted in there, but you
No,
were
good, bro.
mentioning about three was the one that got you into it, and it was the one that really solidified my love for the series. Um,
And I
the
think that's
start, I
where
guess you could
Final
say.
Fantasy really found its identity. And that's kind of what I was going to. Like we talked about, like for me it's the storytelling. And that was it.
Hmm.
Like I don't want to read subtitles on a TV. Like me and Joe are going to play a game, but we're not anymore because if there's not an English dub, Dano ain't doing it.
Hmm.
But that's it. But it was our first exposure to, well, mine anyways, to a real game other than Legend of Zelda, um that immersed you. And we talked about this with PlayStation because,
Hmm.
and just to catch some people up, Final Fantasy was originally on Nintendo for the family computer, and then made their switch to Sony, which was probably the best for both
Hmm.
franchises. I think we can all agree, because now you're
Yep.
looking at Final Fantasy. Um, it's pretty much the same age as my stepson. It's got like, well, I guess it's almost older. It's the
40
same age
years,
as
dude.
you. I
For
was
yeah,
gonna
40
say, but
years,
it's on
Joe.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
40
my
years.
yeah. So and that's it. So it's like I was born '85, and this was conceived in
Yeah.
'86. But no, Final Fantasy. Like I said, it's a league of its own. Like when we talk about releasing games for the sake of releasing games, because there are some, right? We
Hmm.
we talked yesterday that indie you were playing, um, right? You said mimicked another game that
Yes.
we won't go into, but
Hmm.
there are
Hmm.
some, but it was done better. But by the same token, we've got shit that's been remastered that I don't think is better than the first. And I think that is the problem when you have such a long running franchise. And we talked about it yesterday. So the real meat and potatoes of this franchise is 7 to 10. If you don't agree with me, happy to have a debate on this. But seven to
Yes.
10 is what defined this to our generation, right? We had and we talked about it, because if there's one thing Final Fantasy has never done, it's be an efficient game. Right? FF1, 3 discs, clunky, 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 but we grinded through that shit, right? And I remember, true story, I remembered something after we talked the other day. So the first time that I borrowed Final Fantasy from you to play it, the
Mhm.
third disc was scratched. So I got all the way to Sephiroth and I couldn't finish because I was like, why did I never finish this game? I remember spending, essentially a lifetime.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
dude. Good
so yeah,
60, 70 hours at least you would have to
yeah,
spend on that game.
but
Yeah.
that's it. But I do it again.
Hmm.
I'm a
Hmm.
glutton for punishment. But it
Hmm.
brought in a new well, I I didn't play too many turn-based games prior to that, so I can't really speak on that. But it was unique. And when you got the story from Final Fantasy 3, if your heart didn't break, like within the first 10 minutes, you're a monster. Like that is how we
Yeah,
should
dude.
decide who is a good human being or
Yeah,
not.
yeah, dude. It
Yeah.
also like three also added in like the secret characters, right?
Yeah.
You could miss these characters. I think there was three or four of them that they added in. Like your roster for like your roster for the team, I think was it 12, 13, 14 different characters you could pick from?
Yeah, with four running
So
up front. Yeah.
yeah, at a certain point, right? It added the ATB battle system, right? So before it was just like, okay, let's go down the line, right? Like, okay, it's the fighter's turn, now it's the fucking monk's turn, now it's this turn, now it's the enemy's turn. Everybody select your shit. Let's see when you're talking about the whole football thing. That's how they kind of decided it. Everybody pick what you're going to do ahead of time and let's see how it plays out. And then we take a break. Everyone pick what you're going to do again. And this one now with the ATB, it was like you had a line. And if your character was quicker than another one, it could get two attacks in before another person gets one in, right? Like that was kind of game changer. Um, the individual characters, obviously, right? Again, we could go through them. They were basically like your basic, your tanks, your warriors, your thief, your sorcerers, your whatever, right? Like your
And that's when
but
they started to really start to categorize things.
and everyone felt different in the beginning. The thing with 3 is if you did take your time and you did um grind it out, you can make every character the same, right? And you would want to do that because at the end, you had to split into 3 teams of 4. So it was good to try to collect these secret characters too, right? But you had to split into 3 teams of 4. But if everyone knows everything, it just made the game easier, right? But you had to grind. Like I'm talking like 90 hours. You probably had to put into a Super Nintendo game in order to get to that point, right? So, um, and when I say you can make everyone the same, it was the espers, the summons. When you're talking about like what makes Final Fantasy a Final Fantasy game,
Yeah.
the Moggles, the Chocobos, the summons, espers, aeons, whatever you want to call them, because they're different in every game, guardian force, whatever. So you would attach those to your character, and that's how you learned your magic. So, I want my character to learn fire shit. I'm going to attach a Frit to you. I'm going to attach Shiva to you. I'm going to attach whatever to you. And then you're going to learn your ice shit. You're going to learn all your shit. Okay, you learned all your shit. Okay, take that out, put you on this, and now you're going to learn all this stuff, right? So if you had the time, you sit there, you can make everyone the same, which was also a great strategy, right? Because there is replayability to that game if you really wanted to. You could set a challenge to yourself, right? Um, so yeah, so the story and everything in that game and the twist, it's an old game, and I'm sorry if we spoil shit for any of you guys if we mention like the end, but like the
It's
twist halfway through, right, where you thought the game was done, and you're like, holy shit, did we lose? And then like that fucking twist, dude, and now that added another 30 hours to your gameplay. Like it's crazy what they did on the Super Nintendo for that game. Like it was a game changer for sure, 100%.
but I think back then is you needed that kind of game. And I think that's why Final Fantasy thrived, is because it did push that boundary. And we talked about this with the game you were playing yesterday. How pissed off are you going to be if it's a 3.5 hour game, right? With
So
Final
angry.
Fantasy, I have never felt shortchanged,
No,
right? They're
no.
relatively, and I've never bought them right new. So for me, it's all right. But
Hmm.
it's one of those franchises that have stood the test of time. And me and Joe were talking about it. I haven't played past 10, but when we talk about where the immersion into these worlds, and like Joe said, every game is an independent storyline. So if you hopped into 6, you hopped into 7, it doesn't matter. They're not the same. Elements will be the same. Some things will be the same, right?
Mhm.
But Final Fantasy VII, and I think everyone can agree, was the defining moment on what separated a good franchise from an epic franchise.
Yep.
Joe, tell me your love story with Final Fantasy VII, dude.
Oh, buddy, so Final Fantasy VII was the reason why we got a PlayStation. Again, my dad was into the Final Fantasy, the role playing stuff. I think this was like the last one. I don't even think he played this one. I think because I liked them so much, he got a PlayStation just for this game, and it took over my goddamn life, dude. Like I remember like on Saturdays, and this is back when I didn't have a job or anything,
And
because this
sorry to
was
interrupt,
90s.
just so people realize, there was a time when Joe prioritized games over women. 40
Yes,
years later,
yes.
it is still the same time. But
Dude,
anyways,
but yeah,
I
like
had to take my
I
shot.
fucking I fucking just remember like I'd wake up on a Saturday morning, whatever time I'd wake up, maybe early, maybe late, right? I don't remember ever sleeping in anymore, but I must have done it when I was young. But I would play 12, 13 hours straight, dude. Like I would leave my room to grab some food, take a piss, maybe shower, and I'd be like right back at it, and I'd be playing from sun up to sundown constantly on the weekend, getting home from school, like just constant. Like I put uh, my first run through of this game, 90 something hours, I think I put into it. Um, which again is crazy, right? Like, and it did the same thing that six did, which was amazing, where it had the secret characters that you could miss. It had the secret summons that you could miss. It had the materia that you could miss if you weren't paying attention. Now, this was around the time where internet was kind of around. Yeah, because internet's been around for a while, but it was like dial up, right? So you could go online, but a lot of this stuff was still like you talk to your friends about it, and they're like, oh yeah, I ended up doing this, like
The
the
original
breeding.
walkthrough was the
Yeah,
meeting of the
yeah, yeah,
minds at the
yeah.
playground.
Like the cutscenes, the reason why this game was 3 discs, it could have been done on one, but because of like the FMVs and all that other stuff that they added in, the full motion video cutscenes people call them today, um because of all that, it took up like 3 discs, because most of the discs were data for those FMVs that they were doing. Um, you still had the same format. You had the whatever, the one on, you could see you could see your enemies when you're fighting side by side. They had the animations. They had but the other thing too, man, was like the summons, like the animation for the summons when you use them were fucking cinematic. Like the music, holy shit! Again, like one of the best soundtracks of Final Fantasy ever. Like one, and I'm saying one. I know other people are going to say it is. I'm going to say it's one of them because there's one that's better. Um, but yeah, the first one to go 3D. It was meant for the dude. This was supposed to be for the Super Nintendo, and then they were going to put it on the 64, and then they were like, fuck this, a cartridge can't handle what we want to do. And thank God they moved over to the PlayStation and they created that partnership, right? um you got whatever, oh, and the spin-offs, the fucking spin-offs of this game. Like you had the movie Advent Children, you had Crisis Core, you had Crisis Core was the game. You had Dirge of Cerberus. You had there's another one. Fuck, can't remember. Were they good? No, they weren't. But the fact that they made them, I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Sometimes you
Were
got
they
to take a
fucking good?
shot, man.
No.
Sometimes you got to take a
Yeah,
shot.
yeah, yeah. They fucking weren't, but they did it because it was so popular, and all the characters that they had and the story and everything. People wanted fucking more of this game, right? Like it was a global phenomenon, is what this fucking game was. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. And even for people that didn't play it, they know of it, right? They know in that era, they were like, oh yeah, Final Fantasy 7, right? Like people know of it even if they didn't play it. Like they'll know of it. The dude, fucking Sephiroth. Oh my god,
I was waiting
holy
to
shit!
get to
Like,
the iconic villain here.
dude, yeah, like fucking Sephiroth. We didn't even get to the iconic villain in three,
We
which is
will. We
Kefka.
will.
And okay. Yeah, the mini game options, the fucking the chocobo races, and then you had to breed the chocobos in order
The
to get better ones,
casino.
and then
There
oh,
was when we talk about and there was a lot of games when we were coming out, like we talked about. It was just kind of throw it out there, see what sticks. Um, but the one thing was it gave you so much options. If you needed a break from the battles, whatever, you could
hmm
just chill out in the casino for hours.
yeah,
You can
dude,
go
go
like
snowboarding,
right.
go motorcycling, go fucking do something, right?
And I'm not gonna lie, I would when I boarded from you again, all I remember was just playing it at that point to get to the casino. Like just the storyline, everything. And we talked about, and it's a weird thing to say, but as ugly as it is today, it was so beautiful back then. Like we talk about the polygon forms, and this was one thing that was a big change because I don't even know, would it even be like, and I know, and you touched on it, but if they were forced to go to cartridge, like how much of that story would we not have gotten? Like, and we talked
Buddy,
about it. Like it's
at least half of it. Like it would have been a short form version for
because
sure.
this is another game where you're 30 hours in and you think you're done and then you got another 40 to 50 to go. Oh, you want to be
hmm
an 80%er? 80%. I thought I was doing 100. You want to be an 80%er? Well, you got about another 100 to go, pal. And I
hmm
remember when
hmm
we all had to fucking borrow the same walkthroughs and shit and try to figure
Yep.
it out. Because if not, Dano was calling Joe, being like, hey, I know you played this 17 years ago and I'm a grown man, but the fuck. But that's it.
Yo,
It's
dude, yeah, and again, the story great. The twist, again, I don't know if I want to. Whatever. The game's been out for whatever 30 years, but I know they just did the remake, and people might go to the remake. But if you don't cry at the one particular scene, and that's all I gotta say to fans. If you don't cry, you're not a fucking human, dude. You're not a fucking human at that one scene. Now, you might know what I'm talking about. You might not know what I'm talking about there,
I know
Dan.
what you're
But
talking about.
yeah, if you don't fucking cry, dude, you don't deserve the game. Like, if you're not the like, you know what I mean? Like the twist that they do, they pull at your heartstrings. Like the oh my god, man! Like
He's crying right now,
it
people. Look at him.
dude, like
We're not even
I'm
at
playing
10.
I'm playing Rebirth right now, and I'm
Yeah.
waiting for that moment. I know I'm nowhere near it, but like I'm already all tensed
Oh,
about it.
fuck.
Um, but yeah, it was just like again, they pull at your heartstrings. They give you all this extra shit that without a walkthrough, I don't know how you would figure it out. That chocobo breeding, how the fuck do you figure that out without a walkthrough, right? Like, but then you get that Knights of the Round baby, and oh, that summon, so crazy. Now people exaggerate how long that summon takes. They're like, yeah, you just put the controller down, come back in like 10 minutes, and then the cinematic's over. Now it's like a minute and a half, which was still pretty long, right? But um, yeah, the fact that they just added all that shit in, they added the materia system was very good. You add them onto your weapons, you up your stats, you max them out, and then it creates a copy of it. Again, another game that if you want everyone to have the same shit, you're grinding and you're grinding and you're grinding. And we were okay with it at the time because we had nothing else to do, right? You pop in like a CD on your 6 CD changer and you fucking
We
go
came
at
from
it.
a time that valued grinding in games. Like
hmm
when I got back
We
into it,
enjoyed it.
well, but even so, like when I got back into video games, in my late 30s, um, watching my kid play Fortnite, uh, just building shit. Like
hmm
I could give the kid fucking wood, a hammer, and a nail today, and we'll end up in the emergency room. But he can fucking build, shoot, and fucking save his buddies from death while playing Farm Simulator on a separate PC. But basic math is challenging, and it's not a bad thing. But that's it. But it was a different style. Like we were
Mhm.
ready. We did not. care because and like my conversation, because yesterday you talked about spending $20 and you went from this is a great game to if this is 3.5 hours, this is bullshit. And I've had those games. Like Cuphead was annoying for me because I liked it so much. I wanted to keep going, but it's a short
Hmm.
game, right? But these were the
Right.
games like Link to the Past. You could play over and over. You can spend 100 hours and still not figure it out. Like it was
Hmm.
so there was a work ethic to the game because it's like Stardew Valley, and this is why that perfect example. If you want to be good at Stardew Valley, you can just kind of float around. If you want to be great at Stardew Valley, there's so much extra shit. You got to remember people's birthdays. You got to give them gifts, stuff like that. And I think that with Seven, the story in Seven, we had the most, in my opinion, um, the most iconic villain, and we talked about it, not the hardest, the most iconic villain in Sephiroth.
Hmm.
Cloud Sword became, you know, PlayStation's
Yeah.
go-to image, right?
Yeah.
You can post a picture of
Iconic,
a
dude.
sword right now and everybody would know. But
Hmm.
that's it. But Final Fantasy VII took us into a world that we had could only dream of gamers at the time, because I'm trying to remember what else we were playing at the time. And like I said, it's
Think it
that
would have
was
been like Resident Evil, would have been
and
maybe
those are the
Tony
only ones,
Hawk,
right? Like
like
I remember playing Gran Turismo. Was any Gran Turismo
would have
game
been
better than
that,
this?
right?
No. Was any
Yeah.
NHL game better than this? No.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's it. And we talked about this in the PlayStation episode. What Sony did well, and the brands that tend to stick with us, are that is that immersive feeling. And I think that was it. And you talked about Advent. We talked about Advent Children the other day, and how
Hmm.
Final Fantasy VII brought on the spin-offs, right? Brought on
Hmm.
an entire, it created a whole new universe. Like, let's get real,
Hmm.
Joe. If Final Fantasy VII, 8, and 9 had the same characters, just different stories, that would probably have been a better option. And we're gonna
Yeah.
lead in.
Yeah.
Not that they were bad games, but I'm gonna let Joe because this is how Dan does a segue. But we're gonna start talking Final Fantasy 8 and Final Fantasy 9,
Right.
because again they're on the plate. There's meat, potatoes, and broccoli. This would be your broccoli. You needed them, but we've learned to outgrow them. And Joe, I'm gonna let you talk about these two because I didn't spend enough time playing them to talk about them.
Right. Um, okay, well, every series needs a fucking black sheep, and that black sheep in this one is fucking Final Fantasy 8, dude. Like, you talk to some people and they're like, well, yeah, well, once you figure it out, it's a really good fucking game and blah blah blah. But
Yes.
dude, like this game didn't tell you shit on what you're like how to do anything. They changed most of the mechanics, other than it being a turn-based, right? They changed most of the mechanics, dude. Like instead of having MP, so your magic points, so you could use magic and then you use like potions to like heal your magic back up, and it was easy. They added a stupid fucking draw system where like you had to sit there and decide when you're fighting an enemy, am I going to hit him or am I going to try to draw some magic from him, right? And every enemy had different draws of magic. So they started using magic as items. So you could only stock 99. Say like I
Oh
wanted
fuck, I
fire.
remember that. I remember to the 99.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So say I wanted my fire spell. So now I gotta draw fire magic off of enemies.
Keep
And
talking.
then I could only and then I could only keep 99 of them, right? And then you use them as items. So you're thinking, well, that's great. Like whatever, you stock them. But the grind of trying to decide, do I want to finish this enemy off or do I want to keep taking fucking hits from this enemy to try to farm shit from them was so goddamn annoying, dude. Um the summons, the guardian forces, um kind of cool, I guess, because I believe the way it worked is they were their own characters, and when you summon them they had their own HP, they had their own magic points, I think, as well. um but again, with like the systems were super complicated in this game. Like you get a guardian force, then you junction that guardian force to whoever you want. So say it's Squall, right? The main character Squall. You junction Ifrit to Squall. Now you attach them together, you bond them. Now that's going to up your stats on a certain things. Okay, cool. Now what it also does is I could take the magic that I drew from enemies and I could add it to those particular stats. So say it's health. Say like a frit helps you with your health points. So now I take whatever magic spell and I add it to my health points. So I add like, I don't know, let's say 10 fire to my health points and ups it 1,000 health points. Okay, cool. Sounds amazing, right? But when I fucking use my magic, it takes it out of there. It takes it out of my inventory, which now drops my HP down little by little by little by little. So now not only do I have to draw magic, now I have to decide, is it worth using that magic and take a hit on my stat points, or do I never use magic so I don't take a hit to my stat points? Okay, so there's that. Now, limit breaks. So another thing that they changed, limit breaks. Instead of being able to use a limit break like in 7, where you get hit and it adds a meter at a, or whatever a little bit at a time till it gains a meter, and then you can use your limit break, which is like a strong different skill. Everyone has a different one. This one was like, oh, you're almost dead. Now you could use your limit break. Okay, that's cool. That's great. Okay, I'm going to select my limit break. I'm going to use it. And oh, the enemy attacked me before I could use it. Now I'm dead. This is great. This is awesome. I love this game. Um, what else did they do? Shit, dude.
The materia
Those were the
system. What else did we change?
Oh, they also had a car, but the car needed gas, and you always had to make sure the car had gas in it. So instead of an airship, they might have had an airship. I didn't play it long enough. Um, but there was a car you could use to get around, but it needed gas, so you always had to make sure you had fucking gas in it. Oh, let's not forget they fucking took away grinding, which the reason why I stopped playing this game is when I found that out. I was on the, I think this was a 4 disc game. I was on the third disc and I was fighting enemies, and I'm like, I keep grinding, but why the fuck are these enemies so goddamn tough? Oh, that's right, it's level scaling. So every time you gain a level, every enemy in the fucking game, doesn't matter if it's a little fucking turtle that was from the first level, or if it was like if I was level 99, everybody else was level fucking 99. So what that meant is when you went into the last boss battle, that boss was nearly impossible because it was a level 99 boss. So you don't have to grind in this game. I've known people to beat this game and they just rush through it and they beat it at like level 10. Because then now the last boss was level 10, made it easier. They fucking glitched it out. There you go. The game's done. Like, I don't know what their thought was when making this game. Now they did go to for more realistic graphics with now in today's games. That's kind of what they're going for, right? Like they tried a more realistic approach, but again, like the characters were bland, the character designs were bland, the world was bland, everything was just bland about that game. And you talk to other people now, like I bet you if we had Desolance on here, he'd probably jizz all over the screen talking about this game. Um, I guess the only good thing this game really had for it was like they added the card game system, which I get the card game now. Again, when I played it there, I didn't understand it, but it created it paved a way for every other Final Fantasy to have certain card games. People love them. They're cool, whatever. But yeah, they added the card game. Fucking like again, I don't know what they were thinking. The, the amazing part of this though is like I believe this came out in 99 because it was 97 Final Fantasy 7. This came out in 98 or I think it was 99. And then FF9 came out in 2000. So they they pumped these games out in the generation, right? So good on them for doing that. I fucking respect that. But this game, to me, piece of shit. Fuck this game. I'm probably never going to go back to play it unless they remake it like FF7 they're remaking and they totally change everything. I'm probably never going back. But I will tell you the one good thing that came out of this game. I don't know. I don't know the rules of like YouTube and shit, but I'm going to show you something.
Well, better get ready to be banned. So, oh, good, Joe's. Yeah, we can keep that off
The only
screen. We'll post that in Discord. Thank you,
Oh,
sir.
my bad. Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's good. Love you,
I don't
Joe.
know what the gun blade is probably one of the coolest fucking impractical weapons ever to come out, but fucking That that and the card game system is probably the only good thing to come out of it. And my screen, because I moved,
Yeah.
I'm a little fucking blurry. Are we good? Are we still blurry? We're still blurry. It's good technical difficulty, good podcasting. Fuck you,
Eh,
camera.
to be fair, this was kind of an operator problem.
I know I moved.
Yeah.
I moved too fast. I shouldn't. I shouldn't have moved. I shouldn't have moved. But anyways,
Okay.
8 for all whatever people could say. What I fucking hated this game.
Well, and that's it. And you touched on it. So while Joe's playing hide and go seek with his camera,
Yeah, you
we
keep talking.
you touched on it that they were pumped out, right? The success they had with 7, it's hard to lose that kind of momentum. And I understand from a business standpoint, right? There's little tweaks that we can do. We can make it, instead of making it less clunky at 3 discs, we turned it into a 4 disc. And like you said, there was the grinding aspect wasn't really there. It brought in the triad card system. But ultimately, could we agree that it was a necessary evil in the franchise? Like, we got some that can, be lost to time forever. Like 2 on in whatever country you are could have been, thrown in the dumpster. But we're gonna get to it because I think the flagship game, and everybody knows the sentiment to 7, but the fact that there is a game that beats it, that's still coming up, that we're gonna get to. But before that, Joe, talk to me about the pros and cons of Final Fantasy IX.
Okay, so Final Fantasy 9, I think it was a better game. Now I would like to go back to it. Let's just say this: I would like to go back to it because when these games did come out, again, I was still a teenager, and to understand the mechanics was very kind of hard. But 9 went back to true form. 9 went back to a little bit more kind of cartoony, brighter graphics, right? Very different characters. You could differentiate between them too, right? Like they're all pretty memorable. Zidane, Vivi, Steiner, Dagger slash Garnet, the princess, um, Quinoa or something. That guy I don't really
But it brought
like,
us
but
back to
anyways,
that JRPG feeling of
back
old.
to everyone had like a job, right? So you had your thief, Zidane, you had Vivi, the mage, you had Steiner, the warrior. Like they went back, they looked at Final Fantasy 1, they're like, we need to do this shit again, right? Because even in like Final Fantasy 7, they kind of were like different classes, but again, like, I don't know, every character was pretty much interchangeable in a sense.
Yeah, because you could
Um,
use materia if you really wanted to, fire load someone like Barrett. You could.
Yeah, yeah. Barrett, Cloud, Sid, fucking Red X-13, they were all like very strong. Even Tifa. That one I'm going to pronounce wrong because I don't know the pronunciation. Um, but even like they were all pretty powerful, right? Like they could all attack, they could all do whatever. But anyways, 9 brought it back to like, Zidane's your thief. Vivi is your magic person. He sucks at attacking. Don't bother attacking. Only use magic, right? Steiner is your tank. Use this bitch whenever you can, right? So they went back to that, which was great. The story was a little bit more lighthearted, but if we all remember what I said in the beginning, it was like a band of people got together because somebody with a god complex wants to take over the world, blah blah blah. But the story was a little bit more lighthearted. Like I laughed while playing that game. I don't think I laughed once playing fucking Final Fantasy 8. Um, they
Man, that
added,
game really hurt your feelings. Like,
dude. It was
there's
just
games you don't like, and then there's games that like hurt your feelings. And Joe,
it
if I was
fucking.
there, I'd
I
give you
don't
a
know.
hug, bro.
I don't know. It was like Final Fantasy. Like Square was going through their emo phase, and that pumped out fucking FF8 is what happened. You know what I mean? Somebody was sitting in there listening to Linkin Park or whatever, and they were like, "Yeah, no, this is a game we need to make, right?" So
Because
yeah,
Joe's
everybody got
listening to on, or what is it, on the edge about to break? Yeah, as he's
that.
playing this
Right?
game. Yeah,
Somebody
fuck
was sitting
Linkin
in there
Park
listening
and
to emo
fuck Final
music, came up
Fantasy
with
8.
this, came up with this thing, and then they pumped out that piece of shit. But anyways, 9. Yeah, it was more again reminiscent. They had a trance mode, which again happened when you're taking attacks, not when you're almost fucking dead. So they went back to that stuff. Basically, everything they did wrong in 8,
They fixed with
they
9.
did the opposite. Yeah, they did the opposite, right? So um you had your back row positions, they added that again, like the team synergy, right? So if you're using Vivi the mage and you had Steiner in your group, they could work together and Vivi would add his magic to Steiner's
Oh, it is.
sword and then like they could attack together, which was cool too. I think some other characters had like stuff like that too. They added a better, it was almost like, so they took that junction stupid piece of shit system and they kind of revamped it. And what they did is like when you added weapons and armor to your person, it added certain skills that you could learn. And then through battle and grinding, you learn those skills. And then once you learn those skills, you always had them. Then you change your weapons, and that's what you did. But the skills were only specific to the character. So like you couldn't make everyone the same, right? So um like say for again for Zidane for instance, you had your steel mechanic, but then you had like a mug mechanic that was better because it damaged while you're stealing. So that you would learn like every character learned a specific skill, so you couldn't make everyone the same. Like you had to be smart when you're fighting because everyone had their role to play. So instead of like I said in 7 and in 6, where you could kind of make everyone the same and it didn't really matter who you used in the end, right? Um, so yeah, 9 went back to true form. Again, this is one of those games where Desolance fucking loves. I tried to go back to it. My problem is I got the reading comprehension of like a fifth grader. So trying to read everything all over again, and I tried to play it on stream. I remember I played it on stream, dude, and I played it for like 5 hours on a Saturday, and I read every single fucking text. The next day, I could barely talk. Like my voice was gone, right? Like it's like so. Like I would love to go back to it, and I believe the rumor is they're remaking it, um, like they remade Final Fantasy 7, so they're gonna like not reboot,
Remaster?
not remaster, remake. So not remaster, not just up it into like HD, 4K, whatever. Like I think they're remaking
Oh,
it from like the
redoing it.
ground
Okay.
up, like they did. Yeah. So that tells you something, right? So they remade Final Fantasy 7. They fucking skipped 8, and they're going to remake Final Fantasy 9. So again, that kind of tells you what everyone thinks of Final Fantasy 8. So yeah, it was a way better game. It got way better. It was the last one to come out for the PlayStation because it came out in 2000. Um, and it got really good feedback. People love that game. I believe there is a mod out there if you all want to look at it where it does add voice acting, but the mod's not done yet. I watched Desolance play it on stream, so I think like 2/3 of the game has like voice acting in it, like full voice acting, every character, every whatever. So if you all want to look that up, check it out. I don't know what the mod's called, but you can all look it up. So yeah, so it just went back to true form, went back to what Final Fantasy was. They didn't try to reinvent the wheel. They just added things that made them a little bit better, right? So, um, which I get again. Well, the last time I'm talking about Final Fantasy 8, I understand what they were trying to do because they're like, we can't just keep remaking the same fucking mechanics over and over again. But I think they just tried way too hard. Like they just totally changed it. They should have just slowly added stuff in, right? But anyways, 9 was good. I recommend probably playing it if you could get it. You could find it fucking anywhere. Um, and it was the last one of the people would call it the golden age. Would you call it the golden age?
I guess so.
I don't know. Yeah. It was probably like the golden age of Final Fantasy is right. Is 7, 8, and 9. It's solidified Final Fantasy in the North American market, I would say those 3 games, right? So
And let
because
oh, go ahead.
oh no, because I was just going to mention like try to think of any other JRPG that came out around that time. Like you know what I
And
mean? So they
and
took over.
and that's it. There it was its own genre
Hmm.
in my opinion for a time. But you touched on it. Uh, and if our viewers want, I joked with Joe about this the other day. Maybe me and Joe should voice act a Final Fantasy game. If that's something you are interested in, maybe me and him should sit down, read the entire script, see if we can't get a gig in Japan, and go from there. Because if there's one thing we sound like, it's Japanese characters, 100%, 100%. But the voice acting, um, I would say, brings us to the pinnacle, in my opinion, of the franchise. Possibly one of the greatest storyline games ever created. An absolute pain in the ass to play, but it was so beautiful. And other than one really, really, really annoying aspect of the game, um, should be one of the games of the decade. I can't, it's hard for me to find something else to stand up to it. People are going to hate me. I don't care. Final Fantasy X was by far one of the, in my opinion, top 5 video games ever made that I've played. If it
Yeah,
wasn't for
yeah.
Blitzball, I would be completely and utterly happy with it. And but we can talk about it. Joe, grab your sip there. I'm gonna dawdle. Get to the his. Let's talk Final Fantasy X here, buddy.
Okay, so yeah, so Final Fantasy X was the first one to come out for the PS2, right? Yeah, this new system come out, claiming awesome graphics and everything like that. So Final Fantasy X comes out, and it's a fucking smash. Like it's a hit. It's the first Final Fantasy with voice acting in it. Now, you can say all you want about the voice acting. The voice acting is pretty good. Now, everyone always goes back to that one scene. You can look it up on YouTube where Titus, I believe they confirmed it's not Titus, it's Titus. And Yuna are like in a pool and they're chit chatting about the world or whatever. And she was like, all you got to do is laugh it off. And he gave off this stupid laugh. That was intentional, y'all. That was intentional. That's not bad voice acting. That was intentional. I'm going to say it here right now. We could all just say the voice acting was good. So, anyways, the first one was voice acting. Okay. They changed the battle system up a little bit. They called it a conditional turn based battle. So, essentially, what that was is instead of having that ATB, like I talked about, where the meter fills up and like if your speed was quicker than the other one, you would whatever. This one depended on your actions. So, like, whether I decided to attack, use a magic, use a skill, use a summon, it changed on the fly, and you can see it on the left hand side of your screen. It changed on the fly the order of who goes where, right? So like it created a whole different level of turn based because you wouldn't just go, well, my meter is going to be faster than this enemy, so I'm just going to attack. I'm going to attack. I'm going to attack. This one, it was like I could attack, or I could, or sorry, because it's usually attack was quicker than everything else, but it was like if I go and use this magic skill, fuck, that's going to take some time, which now like changes the order, and now the enemy's going to attack me twice before I could go again. Or I could attack, and now I got to get this person to use an item because I need a heal. Like it changed the game. It also changed it up so like you could on the fly during battle, you could switch your character. So you would have, I can't remember the full team, but let's just say it was like 7 different people you get throughout the game. I think that sounds about right, actually.
Yeah.
Um, you get 7 people throughout the game, and you could switch on the fly. Again, if you're like, oh shit, this person's weak to this type of magic, I need Lulu out on my team. We're just gonna switch her out for this person because this person's sucking during this battle, and like I wouldn't say it made it easier because then again, you have to remember that conditional battle system. It would change the order of the fight. So you had to again decide if it was worth it to bring this character in because they are stronger against this person, but I might get hit 3 times before this person could go. Like, so you had to think of that stuff, which made it fun. It changed the monotony, I guess you could say monotony of how the battles go, right? Like it made you think of a different way, like it kept you engaged. It
While
had the voice
staying
acting.
true to Final Fantasy mechanics, though, like,
Yes. Yes.
yeah,
100%. It did. Yeah, yeah. You're right. It stayed true. Like it changed it in a good way. It stayed true. It kept you engaged. It made you think like it was still strategic, right? So I do like that kind of battle system. Um, I know a couple other games, not Final Fantasy wise, but a couple other games took that and use it, and I do kind of like that because it changes the apps how the battle is, right? Um, for upgrading, you had a sphere grid. Now, some people liked it, other people hated it.
Continue.
So we can say there's like two things in this because I know the other thing that, and I'll let you rage on that one. But the sphere grid, so everyone starts off on a grid, everyone learns their own special skills. But the cool thing about the sphere grid, again, in order to upgrade yourself in this, every battle you got sphere points, I believe they're called, and then you could use that to upgrade your character. Um, you generally get that when you leveled up and stuff like that too. Um, but you use a sphere grid. And the nice thing about this, if you're willing to grind it out, again, you can make everyone learn other people's skills because you would just intercept into their sphere grid. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, just go fucking Google a sphere grid. You'll see what I'm talking about. And like you'd move across like this game board sort of thing and you
Think
could learn
character
other
map.
people's skill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. 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 I'm trying to think of the term like, but like cyberpunk character, fucking,
Well, you see it a
I can't
lot
remember
more today. Like I'm playing two mobile games that run the same
that have
system,
that, right?
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
because you either want to be attack heavy, defense heavy,
Yeah.
balanced.
Skyrim, right? Skyrim had the same
It's
thing.
I still haven't
Where
played that. That's on my list of shit to play.
yeah, you should play it. It's pretty good. The story was really good. The story again was a very sad story. It seemed like an impossible feat, and it kind of seemed like, why are we doing this, right? Like this whole time you knew something was going to happen and you didn't want it to happen, but in order to progress to the story, it had to happen, right? The party members switch out. First fully 3D, because I didn't mention it in the other ones, but the characters would be 3D in the other ones. Um, but the background would be pre-rendered, right? So basically somebody took a whatever on the computer, paintbrush, whatever, they drew out the backgrounds, and then it was kind of like a cartoon. You draw out the background and then you have the person moving, the characters moving, which made it easier to see when things were out of place. Resident Evil did the same thing. Like you could tell what items you were supposed to go to because they stood out. This was the first one where everything was just fully polygonal 3D, which is very nice, very beautiful game, right? The soundtrack, Xanarkin, I would say one of the best fucking songs in Final Fantasy. Um, Amazing. You had summons, but only one character could use them. So again, it kind of went back to that like you have a sorcerer, only your sorcerer could do this shit, right? Um, and then it made a spin-off, X2. Not a lot of people remember it. I remember it. I think about it all the time. I always want to go back to it. But it had a spin-off. So again, it was popular enough in North America and in Japan and wherever else. I say North America, Japan, but like Europe and all that other shit too. But it was popular enough
From
to.
European descent, European and shit too. Fuck.
It's just the European market's a little different. Like it's yeah, like I feel like generally most of the games are sold either in Asia or like North America, right? And then like Europe does have some of the shares, but I feel like when we talk about like video games, it's always like Japan and North America, right? Like two biggest markets, I feel like in video game, right? So I always forget about Europe because at a time Europe was kind of doing their own thing. And a lot of shit was being released out in Europe that we never saw or never got released into Europe because it wasn't a market to release it into, right? Um, so yeah, so ten was good. 10 was amazing. I mean, you had your experience with it too. And your favorite game, Blitzball, was fucking in it. So, I mean,
If we remake Final Fantasy X, I just want to throw it out there that there is either like an hour and a half tutorial on how to play this game, or we just A and B button it. Like we don't need to learn an entirely new game that is not relatable to any other game on this planet. Like you would think water polo, because I played water polo. Nope. Soccer. Nope. That's what this combines. And you could literally throw in cricket rules and they would make more sense than this game. And the part that's
A little
frustrating
bit of American football too, or rugby, right?
now,
Because there's a little bit of contact.
yeah, but now there is this thing that you need to get. Oh, hold on. That you need to get. Sorry, my screen's just fucking changed up on me. Um, to I wouldn't say beat the game, but it fucking helps quite a bit. So I'm gonna keep calling him Titus because if you wanted him to be Titus, you spell it better. But you spelled Titus, so we're gonna call him Titus. So I can't remember what ability Titus gets, like some kind of
Jack
super.
shot.
Yeah,
The Jack shot. Yeah.
just
His dad's famous throw or whatever you do in that game.
so listen to me. This is a PSA because again, one of the greatest games ever created. If you were about to play this for the first time, just learn blitzball. Everything else you can pick up on the fly. You can fight sin. That's the bad guy. You can change worlds. You can time travel. That's all there. But if you suck at blitzball, save yourself the 60 hours.
Hmm.
And that is my
Hmm.
only gripe. The story is better than most movies out there. It is gut wrenching to say the least. Um, I haven't played any Final Fantasies past that, not only because of my hatred of Blitzball, but because I can't see it beating that game. Like you get to a point, and we said that with seven, right? And what happened? They remade seven. So, Joe, now that we have talked about what I think should be the flagship game if they ever redo it, or even make it into a movie, because I think an actual, like, just straight up movie, I would watch that shit. Like,
Yeah.
Advent Children was a really good movie. I know some people hated it, but Spirits Within, Advent Children, I like. I like that kind
Hmm.
of stuff. But now, after the success of 10, and X2, because I didn't even know there was an X2. You told me about this the other day, so now I'm more intrigued. But we went into the MMO era.
Right.
This is kind of where I lost touch with it. Joe, tell us about the MMO era with Final Fantasy.
Okay, I'm gonna do my best to recall because I won't lie. I didn't play this one, but there's a reason why I didn't play this one because it came out on the PS2. They were making an MMO, but you needed to buy a modem adapter to plug into the back of your PS2 in order to connect to the internet. But you also needed to pay a monthly fee. You know what I mean? Like World of Warcraft, whatever, same shit, right? Um, but what it did is it took, again, the Final Fantasy, we'll call it the Final Fantasy world, but we all know like not one connects to the other unless it's a spin-off. Um, and it gave you character classes. So the best way I could kind of put it is like think World of Warcraft. Like you had your character classes, you had your hub world, and then you had your missions, right? But because internet was still a new thing, maybe DSL was out around that time, which was again
Yeah,
quicker. Yeah, quicker
we're gonna
than
start
dial
talking
up.
T1 and T3 soon here, Napster
Yeah,
downloaders.
yeah, dude. But DSL, even with DSL, it still took like 2 days to download a song. You know what I mean? Like it took forever, or a movie, I guess a day to download a song, but like download a movie, download whatever. So the internet still wasn't good. So it was hard to connect to the server. They made it hard with all these logins and all this other stuff. It was hard to connect to the server. It was hard to join a party once you got into the server. Um, and once you got into a party, so now I'm just going off of like I watch videos, I listen to like podcasts about this. So like say you finally got your party, everyone's together, everyone's good to go. Now your mission was way the fuck out and butt fuck nowhere on the map. Now you all had to run to there, right? Now you start fighting the monster. So it was kind of like I'm gonna say like even think like in the terms of Monster Hunter, if y'all played that game. So now it's a lot of like you gotta go and kill this beast and blah blah blah. So you go and you go fight the monster, the big bad dude. if you fucking die, there was not a um hey and especially if somebody couldn't get you in time to like revive you if you didn't have like a healer in your group. Um it wouldn't be like, hey, do you want to restart? Do you want to like, pick a section and drop down on? It was you went all the way back to the fucking hub world. Then you had to run all the way back to your team, hoping you don't die on the way to help them fight. And if you weren't there by the time they defeated the monster, you didn't get the experience points. So you could have been doing all this work fighting, and then you die. By the time you get back there, they already beat it. Now you lost all your experience points. You didn't get anything for anything, right? So my best way to say is like go look it up videos. There's still, I believe, there's still servers. They're fan held servers, but there's still servers out today that you could go and play this game as long as you have the means to play it. Like it's still like people still enjoy this game. I'm not an MMO type guy. Um, I'm barely a play online together type guy, but you could look it up. There's still, I believe, somebody, a mutual streamer that
Yeah.
we both know, still plays it to this day. Like there's still servers out there that you could play it on, right? So it's just very clunky.
So
Just remember.
let me ask you this then, Joe. Um,
Mhm.
if you were to define a Final Fantasy game, right? Like we could call this a Final Fantasy game if it's hit these. Would you consider the MMO era truly Final Fantasy?
Or would I consider it like a spin-off is basically what you're asking me.
Yeah, like if we changed
Um,
the name completely, called it something else, like let's just pretend it's Appleseed, right? Appleseed Omega game, right? You can say that because
yeah,
when I think Final Fantasy, it's that
I
art,
think single player.
even with a party, right? Like but
Mhm.
it's that vibe. Like if I'm playing Halo, I don't expect to farm. Like,
Right.
it's so to me, and that's probably why I didn't get it. And I've watched people play it, which is fine. I've never played Monster Hunter. I've never really got into the MMO. Joe and I were
Mhm.
sheltered as kids, um, which is why we've turned into the
Sit in
anxiety
front of a
ridden
screen and
OCD
talk.
assholes
Yeah.
that we are today. But that was it. And I can't consider that. Like I would play it if it was under a different name. Like I was watching, but even Halo, like Halo is still, despite changing its format, is still fundamentally Halo.
Mhm,
When I
mhm,
see some of those games, like you said, it could just as well be called Monster Hunter, League of Legends, Warcraft. To me, it isn't true Final Fantasy, but I'm
mhm.
harsh. In your opinion, would Final Fantasy still be Final Fantasy without the MMO era?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, like, yeah, yeah, like, they I again, I understand what they were trying to do because during that time, there was a lot of, like
Online
online was the
was,
thing, right? So they were trying to get into that market. Um, I don't think it needed to be done, and if it did need to be done, I don't think they needed to call it Final Fantasy 11. They probably could have called it, like, Final Fantasy Online, Final Fantasy
Wars,
fucking
Final
whatever,
Fantasy,
right?
Battle Royale, anything.
Is something, right? Like, I think the reason why they did it was for sales. Do you know what I mean? Because
Well,
we see Final Fantasy 11 and we're like, "Oh, great." I think if we would have saw like Final Fantasy Online, might have taken a second guess if we wanted to buy it or not, right?
and the other thing
Um,
we didn't really touch on that we should have, because the golden era, the golden age, whatever you want to call it, had the one director. And I think that that is saying something. It's like watching a football team with the same coach for 12 years, right?
to
They've
my boy
developed this system,
Sakaguchi.
right? And that's it.
Yeah.
So when you have a developer director like that, because after 10 is when he left, and that's kind of when, in my opinion, I lost touch with Final Fantasy. And doing my research here, and we're going to get into it right way before we wrap up. But
Mhm.
the one thing I always wanted for Final Fantasy was what I love, a solo RPG. Now, that in itself is not the definition of Final Fantasy. To me, again, if we had these three things make you a Final Fantasy: turn based attacks,
Mhm.
party attack, and materia. I think materia was a great system. I hate the sphere
Mhm.
grid. Um, Even in the games that I play now, if I can auto fill my skills, I do that shit because I have enough trouble remembering to take my pills in a day. Trying to tell someone else how defensive to be is not my
Mhm.
place. But when we looked at, because I looked at the trailer for one of the gameplay videos for Final Fantasy 15, we now left MMO and we're now into a single person progression RPG.
Mhm.
You're not really with a team from what I kind of get. Like, can you
Oh,
kind of
that's
explain
16.
15? Oh, okay, sorry.
Uh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, no, no. But so 15, so in 15, because we could talk about 15 quickly,
Yep.
they changed it from like turn-based to we'll call it action RPG. Um, so you're doing combos, right? You got your X's, your or sorry, not X. Yeah, like X is to jump, square, triangles are your
Yeah.
attacks. You got your trigger buttons that are doing other things to bring up spells and whatnot, but you're doing everything in real time. That's a word I'm looking for, real time,
Okay.
right? Now in 15, you still had a party, but you didn't control them, right? They were computer controlled. Now you could kind of tell them and set limits for them what to do, like if this, then that, right? I want you to be more aggressive. I want you to be more defensive. I want you to heal me when this happens or whatever, right? So you could set them like that. But you weren't necessarily controlling them. I think the only time you kind of do stuff with them is like you could, I think on the D-pad, you could like hit like one of the triggers and then you could get them to do a specific skill if you want to like do a combo link or something. But other than that, they're just doing like their own thing, right? Um, so 15 is when they started doing that. Um, they changed a couple more things. So you could for the leveling up, what you would do is like you would get your experience points. You could see the enemies on the map as well. They started doing this in 12, where instead of random battles as you're walking, you just get into a
Oh,
battle.
okay.
Yeah,
You don't get that.
in
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you don't. No, no, no. So in 12, they started changing that where you could see the enemies walking around and you could walk up to them and fight them if you want. So in 15, that's what it is. You could see them, right? So you could decide if you want to fight them, if you don't want to fight them, and fucking run off. If you do engage with them, if you just keep running, like they will eventually stop chasing you, right? So it was more open like that. It was an open world. Um, but as you were fighting, you would gain experiences, and then the only time they would get applied is when you camp for the night. You could camp whenever you want, I believe, but is when you camp. So you would camp, collect all your experience points for that day. But then you would also have to eat, like make some food, and then with the food you're making gives you the buffs for the next day, right? So they started trying this different I call them action RPGs, right? Assassin's Creed did the same thing, right? From Assassin's Creed Valhalla? No, Origins. Origins is the one that kind of changed where like you didn't have to sneak around anymore. You didn't have to play the game like it was meant to be. You just go around and fucking punch people and do whatever the fuck you want, however you want to do it. So 15 is kind of like that. Um, no more turn based, all real time. 16 added on to that. 16 is the one. So 16 is a good story. More Game of Thrones. You had your factions, your families all backstabbing the fuck out of each other, right? Still, again, it's a sad story because in that one, people who could use magic, so there's people born to use magic and people that can't use magic. The people that were born to use magic end up being slaves to the rich. And the more they use the magic without resting, the quicker they die. So a lot of them like start turning into stone. They're poisoning their bodies and blah blah blah. So it's a pretty sad story. But 16 went full action RPG. You were one character. You had your dog with you, but again, you could set your dog to do whatever the fuck it wanted. You didn't have to control it. You never really partnered up with anybody, and the reason why the style fully changed is because they had the Devil May Cry action director on the game. So if you play Devil May Cry, you'll understand this. But I suggest you all to play 16, because the summon guardian aeon battles, whatever you want to call them, are fucking insane, dude. Like, you play this shit on a PS5 and it's fucking amazing. Just go look up just like one video of like a summon fight in 16, and they are the best part of the game. Um, Everything else in the game, I'm not gonna lie, okay, it's fine. The story's great. I like the story. The action RPG stuff, whatever, but those fucking summon battles, dude. And the way that it is your character could absorb the magic, so you fight the summons in order to use them. So you fight
So you'd essentially
I,
fright a freak to be able to use a freak,
yeah,
if
so
that
what
was the
it is
example. Okay.
yeah, so like what it is like the summons bond themselves to people. So like every faction, every family, if you want to call it whatever, kingdom, there, that's the fucking word I was looking for. Every kingdom has one of these people that could turn into a summon. So the regular people walking around, but when they need to, they could bring the summon out and they turn into like Efrit or Shiva or whatever, right? But it's like kind of one of those things where it's like they can't continuously do it because it kind of like hurts their body, right? So when factions get into fights and wars, they're like the last resort. So whoever owns one of these people is like one of the top tier fucking uh kingdoms, right? So 16 changed that, which I suggest playing it. Like I said, the graphics are amazing. The music's pretty good. Again, there's some things I would change about it, but um, yeah. So that's
You
pretty
got
much
it.
it with 16. Like, yeah. That like, yeah. That's it. That's pretty much it.
So going back to my conversation about the definition of a Final Fantasy game, do
Mhm.
you feel 16 is a Final Fantasy game, or do you feel that 16 is a Devil May Cry game? He's not frozen, folks. This is just Joe's thinking face.
No, the problem with 16
There it is.
is that you probably could have named it anything else and it just would have been a game, right? Because it goes back to what you said. Final Fantasy, when the stories change, the stories always change, the characters always change, and whatever. The things that make it common are models, chocobos, and summons, right? And this game has it. Like it has it, but other than that, honestly, you take those away, you could call this something else, right? Take Go into Final Fantasy 7, take the moggles, the chocobos, the summons away, it still feels like a Final Fantasy game, right? It would still feel like a Final Fantasy game. But with 16, take that shit away, it's not Final Fantasy anymore. It's just a action RPG. You could call it whatever the fuck you want it. You didn't have to call it Final Fantasy, right? Great
So,
game, but
so
yeah.
based on that, I think that you and I can agree, and I don't think we'll get too much fight on that, that the generation between the North American 3 to 10 was the golden era. Because at that point, I think,
Yeah.
Jurassic Park ceased being Jurassic Park at a certain point. We're just doing other shit under a familiar brand. Um,
Right.
but that being said, it is hard to argue that this is one of the most iconic gaming franchises of all time.
Mhm.
There are certain games that could be the game of a decade, and I feel that the Final Fantasy franchise has three. In my opinion, 3, 7, and 10. If you built on those stories, dragged them out would have been better. But that's it. But I'm a purist when it comes to those JRPGs. You know me, I don't like much, but I likes me a good JRPG. And to me, Final Fantasy will always be one of the franchises that kept my interest in gaming. Because even when I came back to it after, the only thing I wanted to play, bro, Final Fantasy VII. And I think for people in our age group, um, we were talking about not being able to get an hour of material on a show, and we're pushing 90 minutes right now. But I'm sure, right, if we sat down with Dissonance, PM Transporter, we could probably talk Final Fantasy VII until sundown.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah,
unfortunately, I have a bladder full of biosteel, so we won't be doing that today. We'll try to figure something out. I guess, at least with this lens, I guess PM Transporter is still living the life out
yeah.
in Portugal. So
Oh
we'll let
no,
it.
he's back.
Oh,
He's
son,
been
why
back
would you
for a
fuck
while.
would you come back in winter? Anyways, ridiculous.
Yeah.
Love you, dude, but ridiculous. Horrible decision. But all right. But Final Fantasy, one of the most iconic video game franchises. And just to sum it up, Joe,
hmm
your top three
hmm
Final Fantasy villains.
Top three in order of. Okay, so we can start from we'll start from 3 to 1. Mm, I'm trying to think of three. I know what my 1 and 2 are. I'm trying to think of
Then
three.
what are your
Okay.
top two?
Oh, dude. Okay. Fucking Okay. Number 2 is Sephiroth.
Oh, he's
Sephiroth
two.
is
Okay.
yeah. Oh, buddy. Sephiroth is iconic. Okay. He is the coolest looking fucking uh,
Villain.
main villain. Right. He's the coolest villain, but his story, you could kind of sympathize with him. You understand why he's doing what he's doing, right? The whole whatever he finds out that he has ancient blood, blah blah blah. This isn't that. He was an experiment, all this and that,
He
right?
was
Everyone lied,
Deadpool.
right? So he found that shit out. He went crazy. I get that. I might have done the same thing. Okay, so number 2, Sephiroth. Number 1 is fucking Kefka, bro. I don't think any in video games, to be other than Voz from Far Cry 3, in video games, anybody could beat this guy. This guy, I would, and everyone would, and other people have fucking Joker, dude. He's a Joker. He's just chaos for chaos. He has no rhyme or reason why he's doing it, other than he just wants to see the world burn. He even backstab. He works for the Imperial, and he fucking backstabs everyone to get the power. Why? He just wants to destroy the world, dude. Like he doesn't even want to rule it. He just wants to fuck everyone. I want to kill everyone. I don't care if I die too. I'm gonna kill you all because I just fucking want to, right? Like he, he's scary, dude. He because you can't sympathize with him. Like I went through that game being like, we need to fucking kill him. Like he needs to die. In Final Fantasy VII, I was like, yeah, we need to stop him, but we don't have to. Maybe we can. Like in my head, I was like, maybe we could convince him. Maybe we don't
Joe's
have
just
to
out
kill
here
him. Maybe we
changing
can
villains' hearts.
right? But Kefka, I was like, there's no change. This guy just wants to watch the world burn. He's scary. He's killed people for the sake of killing people, killed whole towns, killed children, killed women, didn't have a fuck, didn't give a fuck, had no morals. He just wanted to destroy the world. Now, my third one, I don't know. I would put maybe Seymour. I think because of Seymour, Seymour was a bad guy, but Sin was also the bad guy. But Sin came back every year. I can't pick a third dude because honestly, the only two that I keep thinking of is fucking Kefka and Sephiroth.
Okay, well now,
So
based on that, let's fill. Who is your top Final Fantasy character?
I mean, again, Cloud is iconic, but is he my top? No, dude. You know who I'm gonna go with? I'm gonna go with fucking Sabin from Final Fantasy
Good
3.
fucking call.
Dude, I'm going with dude. His inputs, his blitzes, he's a fucking beast. Like I always had him in my party whenever I played that game. He's super fucking cool. He's just like, and it's hard to pick from because also his brother Edgar's really fucking cool too with his tools that he uses. But,
The lineup in 3 and 7 were unmatched.
but
Prove
I'm
me
gonna
wrong.
go. Yeah, I'm gonna go Sabin. Sabin's probably my favorite Final Fantasy character. So I'm hoping they're gonna remake six. They're gonna remake 9. Apparently, 3/6 should be the next one they do. That would be amazing to see in full 3D with all those different characters and everything. It would be so fucking cool.
If they, because I've played Octopath Traveler, I tried out a demo. If
Hmm.
Final Fantasy 3 was voice acted like um, Octopath Traveler,
Octopath.
fuck, dude, that's a that's a win, right? Being able
Hmm.
to play through everybody else's perception.
Yeah.
But yeah, but anyways, just because we've talked video games for so long, this was one of, mine and Joe's combined um video game sweethearts, we'll refer to it.
Hmm.
Next week I kind of want to shift things.
Sure.
I'm sure you're not going to be mad, but I think we're talking Ninja Turtles next week. I want to do an episode
Hmm.
completely on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. uh
Okay. Okay. Okay.
you're not as
Like you
excited
want to
as I
do
thought you would be.
like you want to do like up into like Turtles in Time, up
I
into like
want to
Super
do video
Nintendo.
game. I want to do cartoons. I want to do
Okay.
movies up until this point. I want to do a whole Ninja Turtles episode.
Just shooting the shit about Ninja Turtles. I'm
Just
fucking down,
shooting the
dude.
shit.
My boy
About
Leo in the cuck chair is down too. So.
and from us here at Short Leagues Big Rage, thanks for tuning in. Thank you for taking 90 minutes out of your day to help two nerds feel more important about themselves. Um, this will be posted soon. And again, if you're listening to this, please jot down in the comments if there's any kind of ideas you would like to see us talk about. Um, you know, I'm eventually going to run out of shit. I got enough for a season, but I really want you guys to be able to come in here and want to listen to the episode. Um, and I think that we're going to keep bouncing around. I think that the retro cartoon culture, the comic culture, and everything tie into everything we're doing. Right? We talked about Final Fantasy branching off and becoming a killer movie. To this point, if they cut Final Fantasy at 10 and they just made movies, I'd be down. But
Hmm.
from us here over at Angry Corgi Productions, myself, Joey Shadows, this is another episode of Short Legs, Big Rage. We'll see you next week.